I would now ask David Burrowes, Member of Parliament for Enfield Southgate, where there are, of course, thousands of Cypriots living, to say a few words.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. I mean, in some respects, I've got no excuse from being here, but it's also a great pleasure to be with you. And thank you very much. It's easy for us to come from downstairs in the chamber or from offices here, but you've travelled in, and many of you I see familiar faces from year to year who come here. And like David, it would be wonderful if we were here in circumstances other than talking about a Cyprus problem, but celebrating a Cyprus solution. But can I commend all of you for coming, particularly those who come to remember missing persons from year in, year out. And it is a timely reminder to us all, to me and to parliamentarians, that we talk in language, don't we, often in political speak. We talk in terms of bizonal, bi-communal solutions and just and viable solutions, and we talk the talk. But what you want us all to do is to very much walk the walk, particularly in terms of missing persons, realising that we can talk about language as politicians, but it is about individuals. And you know all too well the loss of life, the loss of relatives, and it's important for ourselves to go out and to meet you and to see and to be reminded about this is very much a human problem and a human tragedy for an island that I visited that is a beautiful island and one that has great so much to celebrate for, and the tragedy that we see as a divided island year in, year out, that you remind us of, that is an issue of property, it's an issue of land, but it is also an issue of humanity. And that's all too clear from being able to see you today. So thank you very much for that reminder to me, and to urge myself and to colleagues that we should do all in our power to influence the government and to try and bring about in our activities that solution. But nevertheless, there has been some movement to an extent, some important landmarks over this last year. We aren't in some ways in the same position as the previous year, not least if one thinks about the missing persons. Whilst I remember when I went to Cyprus, there was some progress in terms of finding some answers to a certain extent in relation to some missing persons. Plainly not enough. Plainly the committee that's been set up and the laboratory is doing some good work. But what the European Court established in March, wasn't it, that is plainly not enough in any way. What many here want is truth. They want truth, they want to know the whereabouts, they want answers. And what the European Court established again, as it did in 2001, that these are about human rights. We all talk about human rights, don't we? But these are fundamental rights of liberty, of security. And it's vital that people recognise it's a right to life as well that has been violated, and there needs to be answers. And it was heartening that the European Court established that the Council of Ministers also upheld that, and there needs to be answers. And when we talk about dialogue and seeking solutions, there can be no more confidence-building measure than to come out clearly with truth about the whereabouts of missing persons and relatives. So thank you for that reminder again, to urge us to seek more from the government. And it has to be said that the government's answer in response to the recent delegation, which backed up the thousands who signed the petition to want those answers, wasn't good enough. They said, hang on, give Turkey time, give time to find out those answers. Well, you remind us that there's year after year after year you have been waiting for answers, and time is not on anyone's side. And it's important that whilst one wants to encourage dialogue and cooperation, you want answers, and those answers have come clearly in terms of a European Court judgment, and it's up to us to put more pressure on the government to say, well, you've had time, and we need very much answers. But it is about people, and I remember when I went to Cyprus the last time, and I was reminded when I went to Komi, to a village that is occupied, that to see for myself with my own eyes what had happened in relation to the village and also the churches and the cemeteries. That reminded me, and is always in my mind, that one has to particularly take account of and understand what has happened and what has to be restored, and restored in a way that will build confidence. And so I look forward to when I go as part of the delegation, hopefully the end of November, that we will properly look at the heritage and the cultural heritage that has diminished in many areas. In terms of the Maronites and others, we need to properly look at that heritage and call upon those authorities, call upon them to show that the trust building that we want to see by seeking restoration now of the heritage that has been undermined and that for those who see can see in such an appalling way has happened. But we do need to be positive as well, and I wish to be positive. I wish to be optimistic about this year. It's an extremely important year. 2008 and 2009 are important because 2009 is significant because it comes to the end of the time in which Turkey has to fulfil its obligations, which it hasn't up to now, to allow flag-waving, Cyprus flag-waving boats into the Turkish ports. That they have up until 2009 to deliver on that promise, which they haven't kept to in terms of their agreements. And that is extremely important. It's important that they do comply with that and show through that specific area that they are willing to abide by that agreement and seek to be cooperative. It's also important when we talk about the whole issue of Europe and European accession that there is that dialogue which I very much welcome, between President Christofias and also Mr. Talat. That is important, and that window that's been opened, we need to make best use of. Now, playing the issue of European accession is also very much at issue as we also approach European elections next year. It all means that this year is extremely important. But what I'm determined is when we talk about European accession, it does not come in any way at a cost or indeed at a sacrifice of the integrity of Cyprus. And that is important. That is why I recognise the importance of myself being involved in a dialogue with Turkey, with Turkish Cypriots, who are part of my constituency as well, who themselves, many have had best of intentions as well, I believe, to reconcile and have a peaceful coexistence. But it's important that in this year of opportunities that we see a real step change improvement to build confidence in relation to missing persons, confidence in relation to trade, so that we can move to a point where we can come back to the commons and celebrate that we can enjoy and celebrate the fact that the Cyprus citizens do enjoy the right as equal citizens of a united Federal Republic of Cyprus. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. I appreciate your contribution.